It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. Here we are back to recap 90 Day Fiance. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys who just joined RJ Allen and I on the Real Housewives of Potomac recap because, wow, there was a lot of love in the room and I just appreciate you guys. Now, I know that this is a totally different network. This is not Bravo. This is TLC, and Bravo is kind of my specialty, but I do always love to come back and recap 90 Day Fiance with you guys. So before we get started, if you guys please could, I appreciate it so much. Hit that like button. Let's get some more eyes. And I just want to say again, justifying too, thank you. This past weekend and this past week, I've been really sick. Jason's been sick. I've been sick. And then something happened over the weekend where I had a really bad allergic reaction where I just was like covered. My face was swollen, covered in hives and everything else. So I want to thank you guys for all the love and support. And I was receiving Instagram messages as soon as I got off of my last live of everybody checking in on me. And I always just say this, you guys are like a family to me. I love this community and I couldn't be more grateful for all of you. So with that being said, I say we jump into 90 Day Fiance. I'm going to start with Mike and Natalie. Mike and Natalie, this is such an interesting couple to me because Natalie's coming all the way from the Ukraine and she obviously didn't know what she was getting herself into. You know, we see this episode start off with Mike and Natalie sitting down for French toast. Natalie wasn't quite sure what French toast is, but when she found out that it was one big plate of sugar overload, especially with the syrup on it, she was not happy. You can totally tell that she's not used to Mike's customs and the American customs of the overly large plates and heavy on the sugar foods. She ends up immediately going into the kitchen and getting carrots out because carrots are good for her skin and can help her save money on beauty products, which I thought was interesting, but okay. I thought carrots were always good for your eyes. I didn't know good for your skin too, but I'm sure that there are multiple benefits of carrots. But Natalie did go on to say that this is kind of like double trouble. She's referring to how cold it is outside and pretty much calling Mike's humble abode a trailer, saying that this is just not what she expected, especially being out in the middle of the woods with as cold as it is and with the walls being so thin. It was interesting, though, to see her walk around and him say, don't step on that, you'll fall through the floor. But still, I don't believe that it's technically a trailer. I don't know. As they're going through, though, this episode and they're trying to kind of see what's around and what Natalie will do when Mike's working, Natalie's confused. Mike's like, hey, I could set you up with the quad, which is the four-wheeler. You could ride around. You can go explore. You can go out in the woods. And Natalie just looks like she's depressed. She's like, this is the middle of nowhere, and I don't know what I'm doing here. She said in the episode, and I think this is only 2 days in, it's 88 days until the 90 days are over. She's like, I need time to think. Because she wants to go see this waterfall, this famous waterfall that is about 2 to 3 hours away. When she's asking Mike to go see it, Mike's like, listen, that's not going to happen this weekend. And it's not happening next weekend, maybe the weekend after. And she couldn't quite understand, why wouldn't it happen next weekend? What am I supposed to do for the next 4 days? Again, he's trying to just explain to her that he needs to work and she really just needs to figure out a way to keep herself busy. But that doesn't seem to be resonating with her. So moving on, I don't see how this could possibly work. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link for whenever you guys want to start calling in. If you'd like to start calling in, 50 people in the room, let's go ahead and hit that like button, see if we can get 50 more. And let's move on to Stephanie and Ryan. We just got Stephanie and Ryan this episode, and Stephanie's interesting. A lot of people were thinking that they weren't going to like her because they thought that she had this cougar-like mentality and that she was just going to be kind of an atrocious storyline. I hate to say that, but I'm just reading what people are writing down in the blogs and also the comments that are coming from the super fans of the TLC network. Coming into this, we find out that Stephanie is trying to reach her Guinness World Record of 100 plus hours of hula hooping. I mean, it's not her record, but it is the record, and she's trying to beat that record. So I guess she would need 101 hours of hula hooping, which is actually one of the most ridiculous records that I've ever heard of. I would never sit there and hula hoop for 100 hours, but good for you, because it's not a bad thing when you set a goal, and especially when it's fitness related. If you guys missed this episode, Stephanie, is very successful in her own right. She's a wealthy woman, and she runs Skin Envy Medi Spas, or just, I guess, Skin Envy Spas. I am not really quite sure. She goes on to explain to us that she will not have children. She's made the conscious decision not to have children after her tumultuous childhood and her abusive bipolar father. It just taught her that she did not ever want to be in the situation where she was going to have kids. She didn't want to raise kids. And for that, she is kind of like a lifelong bachelorette. We see her drive around in her Maserati and boast all of her fancy things. But the one thing that I couldn't get past is her guy, Ryan. This is interesting. Ryan seems like a complete snake to me. And I don't usually come on here with the biased opinion, but I can't help myself. This man obviously has his own infidelities that he's cheated on her in the past, and she's cheated on him. So she's just as kind of slithery in her own right. But he has nothing but gain out of this relationship. What I'm wondering is, what does she gain out of being with this man from Belize who is almost a quarter of a century younger than her? She even calls him her cub. When she ends up bringing over her psychic friend to pull her cards, her psychic friend is kind of reading it for exactly what it is. She's like, are you still buying him watches? Are you still sending him lavish gifts? And she's like, yeah, not as much. I can't take as many this time, but yeah, I'm still doing that. And the psychic friend is just like, no. Starts pulling the cards and seeing and showing that there are two women right now in Ryan's life, and they're completely polar opposite. One being Stephanie, and one probably being the ex-girlfriend back home. I just thought that this was interesting because in true TLC 90-day fashion, we find out that Stephanie has a secret. What could that be? There's always a secret with every couple, every 90-day fiance. But Stephanie's secret is, when she was in Belize visiting Ryan and they got into a big fight, she ended up leaving him one night and saying that she was going to fly back home. Somehow between that fight and flying back home, she ended up meeting up with Ryan's cousin Harris and sleeping with him. Boom. So not only is Ryan a little bit of a snake in his own right, I guess Stephanie is too. She has this big secret that she has to reveal to Ryan before they start the K1 visa process, or at least the 90 days once he comes over. But really, they don't even know when those 90 days are going to start due to the coronavirus. The other interesting thing that I thought was the relationship between Stephanie and Ryan's mom. Stephanie is about 5 years older than Ryan's mom, but she jumps on the phone with her to check on her son. Well, check on Ryan, who is kind of like Stephanie's son in a weird way, but jumps on the phone with her, checks in with her, says, I love you, and treats her kind of like a mother-in-law. I want to bring up another opinion about this because I'm so confused, but let's just see really quick. Hi, Mimi.
Hello. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. It's a little bit of a weird week, but good.
Fantastic. You look well.
Yeah, thanks. I was just saying at the beginning of this, I had a really bad allergic reaction this weekend. So my whole face, my whole body puffed out, and like my lips looked like I had a Kylie Jenner thing going on. It was crazy. But
well, you look well. I'm sorry,
thanks.
I didn't hear that part, you see.
Yeah, I choked down a lot of Benadryl this past weekend.
Well, in regards to 90 days, the whole Amira and what's the guy called? I don't really...
Andrew?
Andrew. I just think they're really mismatched. I think initially they met... I don't know. I don't think she's genuine.
You don't think Amira's genuine?
Yeah, Amira, I don't think she's genuine. I think because she doesn't you don't start a relationship and say you want children and then say you don't want children halfway through. You kind of have things set from the get-go. I understand people can change, mindsets do change, time changes people. However, that's a big thing to randomly just say, oh, actually, I don't want children.
Well, that's interesting that you say that. Real quick, I want to thank Muriel for the super sticker. I appreciate you, Muriel. But when it comes down to Amira and Andrew, it seems like she's kind of like a hopeless romantic and that she's really just trying to find love. But I saw on Instagram where people were showing where she lives and where he lives and saying, like, why would you make that sort of change, especially, you know, in cities and all of that. But I don't know. I think we're gonna have to see how their story plays out more. I was just really sad to see her get detained.
No, that was really sad. But I think with COVID, countries aren't taking any chances. You know, Europe is quite bad with the whole COVID epidemic. And I can imagine Mexico, they've had a lot less cases, especially, I guess, when it was being filmed. Because what I saw in the news, a lot of Americans were traveling to Mexico, like people in San Diego, to buy supplies. So Mexico had it a little bit, not under control, but less cases, I'll say.
Right. But one thing that I wanted to say, you know, is it seemed like as soon as Andrew landed in Puerto Vallarta and figured out that the whole plan fell through for Mexico, he was more worried about his plan falling through than he was actually worried about the well-being of Amira. And that maybe just as a viewer, that's what I got from it. But
yeah. I think he's, I don't know, I just get this weird feeling from him. I think he's a little bit odd. And I think maybe most people that come on 90 days, not most people, but there's always an odd couple that don't really make sense. And I think that's this season's odd couple. And that lady you just mentioned, the cougar,
Stephanie,
I find it very odd that she called his mum, she's 5 years older than her. And now that you've mentioned, I didn't watch the end, so when you mentioned she slept with his cousin, oh gosh, it's.
What do you think Mama's going to think about that?
That is so bad. Like, she's 52. She's too old to be doing stuff like that. Like,
do you think the mom is in on the gimmick?
100%. She's 5 years older than your son. Why would you be happy with a woman who's 5 years older than you to be with your child? You know, that's her child. End of the day, it's not a random man. And when she's calling him, when she's calling the mum, I think the mum's completely aware that
of what's going on.
Yeah, I think like the family of Chantel would say, there's a game being run.
Right, because I think that there's probably, in some capacity, Stephanie is probably supporting their family with something. It's probably not just these lavish gifts like the watches and whatever else. I'm sure there's more to the story, and I'm sure she probably sends a lot of money over to them.
I think so too, and I think there has to be. I think we'll find out more. That it's a very odd couple, and I think the psychic friend, hit the nail on the head. Like, this guy is there just for you. He's there to use her,
right?
Because even when she was talking to her cat, I just thought, what on earth? Like, okay, everyone loves their pet, but when she was giving the cat like key lime yogurt, it was just like, what on earth? She spent too much time indoors.
Yeah,
she will go back outside.
Well, Mimi, I think I agree with you. There's a lot of weird stuff going on here. I'm going to bring up real quick, because when you were asking about Amira and Andrew, I'm going to bring up our friend Andrea, because Andrea lives in Mexico, and I'm curious why Amira was detained, but why wasn't Andrew detained?
Sure.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi, guys. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Hope you're feeling better, Adam.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God. So, I was so angry looking at that whole segment with Amira and Andrew. So the thing is that Mexican government can be extremely stupid sometimes, and they make exceptions for some people, but they won't for another. So the reason why Andrew was able to travel from the US to Mexico would be probably because the cases at the moment weren't that bad. But you have to remember that one of the countries that got hit the worst by the pandemic was France.
Okay.
So I am assuming that would be the reason why Amira would be detained. Now, Andrew is the complete idiot by trusting a Facebook group. Like, listen, every 2 weeks, the government gives new rules and new guidelines of what you can and what you can't do. Every 2 weeks. And if Andrew is basing this on a post that he saw a month ago in Facebook, the guidelines have changed. They can't use the same logic just because it worked for some people to kind of jump the hoop.
Well, and
And
who in their right mind would go based off of a Facebook group post anyways? Have you seen Facebook group posts? They're awful.
exactly. If he wanted to have reliable information, he would have checked the info on Mexico City, like what the Mexico City mayor has been saying, like what can we do, what can we want, blah 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 blah. And the thing is that since Andrew flew straight to Puerto Vallarta, the Puerto Vallarta airport is tiny, so they wouldn't pay that much attention. On the contrary, they're trying to reactivate tourism, and that's why they are they wouldn't care that much. Which, by the way, I think it was super gross when he took off his mask in the taxi. Like, dude, you're supposed to leave your mask on all the time. I was like, why are you doing that? You just flew in an airplane with more people. Who knows if someone was infected, and now you're spreading it in the poor taxi driver or Uber driver's car.
Okay. Well, Andrea, I appreciate your input on this. I'm going to go ahead and drop you and Mimi down for a second while I go over the next couples and bring you guys back up. But I completely agree with you. I think Andrew, again, I hate to be biased on the 90-day people, but a lot of them really are creeps who come on this show, and they have some just weird inconsistencies. And I want to figure out more about Andrew, but also, like Mimi said about Amira, there's something off about her maybe too, because she is flip-flopping on her decision. Is she just ultimately trying to get to the United States? Or did she at one point want to have kids and she just realized, actually, no, I changed my mind?
I mean, but I can't remember. Is she a French citizen though?
She, I believe she's a French citizen, but they say she's Israeli? Did they say she's Israeli? Somebody will say it right now down in the chat.
Okay,
sorry. I
No, go ahead.
she's half French, half Egyptian.
Oh, half Egyptian.
Yeah, so she's French citizen, but she's mixed. So dual national.
Okay.
Yeah, that might explain it. I don't know. Andrew just creeps me out. He's a weird mixture between Colty and Sied and Big Ed and all the weird guys that we have seen in the show. That's Andrew. Like,
I agree.
No.
Okay, and Susan Dawson just confirmed that yes, Egyptian. Okay. All right. Well, ladies, I'm going to go ahead and drop you down for a minute, and if you stick around, then I'll bring you back up because we have 3 other couples to go over.
All right.
All right, moving on, guys. I want to go to Brandon and Julia. It was interesting that nobody had anything to say about Mike and Natalie, but Mike and Natalie, I feel like we already know what's going to happen with this couple. But let's move on to Brandon and Julia, because Julia's having a real problem with Brandon's family, especially his mom, who Julia is starting to feel like she's not necessarily asking her for help around the farm or asking her what she likes or how she wants to do things, but instead she's telling her because it's her house, her rules. For Julia, as soon as they arrive to the farm, she is just taken aback a little bit. She sees all of the animals. They're trying to kind of get her to interact with them, and she's not having it. Like she said she's a designer and a dancer. I would love to see what she's designed, because I feel like anybody can throw around that word loosely. But she is a designer, and we've seen her dance, so we know she dances in some capacity, but she's not made for the farm life. But unfortunately, if she's going to be staying in Brandon's parents' house, Brandon's mom is going to make sure that she is helping out. A lot of things are weird for her, though. She's used to living in a small Russian apartment, like she said, with many people around her in a city life. That is not the case for the farm life. They live in a big house with nothing around them but woods and animals. It was interesting, though, when they're walking her around the house and giving her these tours and showing her her room. And then all of a sudden they get to the room and there's a thing of condoms by the side of the bed. Now, for Julia, she felt like that was a little bit insulting. And what I didn't understand is it seemed like they were almost kind of promoting the very thing that they're trying to avoid by not letting them share a room, but you're still giving them condoms. For Brandon's mom, though, she was just justifying it by, hey, if they're not going to take the proper precautions, then we will make sure that we take the proper precautions. But it just seems like a little bit of a double standard here. I'm going to bring up people to call, or I'm going to bring up some of our callers to answer in on this. But before I do, I want to get back to the fact that when Julia is walking around and realizing that she doesn't so much love this whole kind of farm life, she said she's going to give it 1 month. She's going to give it 1 month to find out if she can fall in love with the farm life. And if not, she will decide which one she loves more, her old city life or Brandon. And if after 1 month she decides that she can't live here on the farm, she's going to give Brandon an ultimatum that both of them will move to a city or she'll move back to the city herself. The one thing that kind of almost put her over the edge was the fact that they keep a bunch of crickets in their trash can inside of the kitchen. There's no lid on it. There's no top. And I just want to say this really quick. I have had a veal chameleon before. When I was in 8th grade, I had a chameleon, and we would always have a little thing of crickets, like a little jar. And I kept it in my room. And you would have to open the top and then kind of shake the jar inside of the cage for the chameleon. And sometimes the crickets would jump out and they would start going over all over the room. And then finally, my stepmom had enough of this animal because of the crickets, because I couldn't keep control of them because they would keep getting out of the cage. So I don't know how they cannot get out of an open trash can. Can somebody Google really quick how high a cricket can jump? Because I'm pretty sure a little blue recycle bin of a trash can, crickets can jump outside of that. So when the mom is assuring her, no, it's okay, you're not going to live in a house full of crickets running around, I wasn't necessarily buying that, but it seems like they're just trying to coax and calm her through all of this. Then finally, when they sit down for dinner, this was another interesting part. Julia seems to have missed the mark of the fact that you are sleeping in your room alone. Brandon will not be joining you in said room. You will be sleeping by yourself. Julia tries giving this whole spiel at the table about how she's scared, she's not used to the woods, and I don't want to sleep alone. But his dad pretty much lays down the law and says, listen, I'm not bending. There's no bending on this side. We find it weird that you would think that it would be okay to sleep in the house with Brandon in the same room when you guys are not married. Whereas Julia finds it weird that they would want her to be, in her eyes, uncomfortable and not really have anybody there next to her in her first night in her new home. So there's really no bending here, but you can see Julia's face where she's totally thrown back or thrown off. And she's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go from here. Guys, 131 in the room. Let's bring up Mimi really quick. Hi, Mimi.
Hey.
Did you watch this part?
Yeah, I don't like Julie. And Brandon and his mum, oh gosh. It's like the other guy, Andrew, and his mum. They need to be on that new show, Mama's Boys. It's on TLC.
Everybody says that about them.
It's just weird. I think
it is a little bit strange.
They need boundaries, and I think the mum's overstepping. Especially, Julie's come from another culture. She's come from another country, and she's come to a complete different world. America is so different to Europe, and for her, especially like Russia's very different. To go to America and then to go to a farm. They showed her Seattle, so they kind of broke her in a little bit, and then they took her to a farm.
Right.
She kind of knew what she was getting herself into. He did tell her, I live on a farm. And I don't know how much more do you need.
But could you see, though, where it kind of, it's a little bit confusing, or is it not confusing, the fact that they're offering her condoms, they're
so odd. I think the first episode when the mum was like talking about her if she takes medicine, and I think they looked down on her because when English isn't her first language, so when she said I don't drink medicine, the mum was like, drink? That's so Stone Age or Dark Ages. I don't think they really like her, and I think they're entertaining her just because of Brandon.
Right. Well, I guess the part that I was most confused by was when they're finally sitting down at the dinner table, and there was this disconnect of figuring out where she's going to sleep or if she's going to sleep alone. She seemed really confused, almost as if Brandon had already had the conversation with his mom and somehow got a different answer. She seemed like she was taken aback by it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like Brandon plays double advocate. He pretends to her that he's dealing with his mom. He's going to have a conversation with her. He's going to get it sorted, because that was the impression she was under. So when the realization came, actually, no, you're still sleeping on your own in a separate room. I personally think she's being very disrespectful. She's gone to his parents' house, not his house, his parents' house, so therefore she should respect their rules and not impose what she would like, because she's living there rent free.
But don't you think she should have known about these rules before coming?
Yeah, I think she would have. Yeah,
I think she would have made a different decision.
I don't think he knew she wouldn't be happy with it. If she was, I think he knows what kind of girl, type of person she is, type of woman. So I think he knew not to tell her, because I think she'd change her mind about, or she'd push him out of the house. She'd say, you know, you've got to move. For me to come there, you've got to move.
Right. Okay.
So I think he kind of like he was very deceitful in that sense.
And I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody who's watching this who may have the same sort of living conditions, because again, I just shared my own story when it comes to, I had a chameleon and I had crickets in my house. They were in a small little cage with a lid on it. And every time I would open it, the crickets would start jumping out and trying to get away. Do you believe keeping crickets in an open trash can, that is safe?
No, definitely not. But they live in the wild, so there's already crickets knocking about. You know, there's all sorts out there. That woman, their friend Aspen, who brought the weird cat. No offense to anyone who has that cat.
I have 2 of those cats.
But each to their own. That's what I mean. Like, personally, I wouldn't have a cricket. I wouldn't have a chameleon, just because that's who I am. But I can appreciate they live in the wildlife and they like nature and they like all of that. So maybe to them, it's normal to have crickets coming on the table, walking, jumping around. It's fine.
Okay.
I would say for health and safety, they should have a lid on it. But maybe they believe the crickets need to roam free with everything else that's roaming.
Well, they said that they're not jumping out of the trash can. I'm like, that is total
I don't
bull.
believe that.
That's why I was saying somebody needs to check and see how high they can jump, because that is not, no.
Definitely, I don't believe that. I 100% these crickets are escaping.
All right. Well, I'm going to drop you down for a second and move on to Yara and Jovi, but thank you for jumping on in.
Oh, can I quickly mention Mike? Because I forgot about that couple.
Yeah.
I don't know why TLC brought them back. They, out of all the couples last season, they were the least interesting. The season they were on, I just feel like there's such a disconnect between them two. I feel like, what's her name?
Natalie.
I think she's so rude. She kicks out his uncle, and then she's got a problem with him drinking. I'm sorry, but no one's forcing you to do anything. And then he was so gracious enough to make her French toast, and she decided to eat carrots.
I think that was kind of a dig on, listen, American people, like, this is why a lot of people come over and think Americans are a lot heavier, that they have larger portions, and, you know, like even Julia was like, why are people fat and running around? Like, she didn't understand.
I lived in America and I absolutely loved it. I lived in Florida and I worked over there. I love the options of food, the availability. If I want to eat unhealthy, I can eat unhealthy. If I want to eat healthy, I can eat healthy. It's down to the person. It's not, no one's forcing that food down your throat. It's up to you what you want to eat. And the fact, if I was in a different country and someone made me food, I'd politely accept it. Even if I didn't like it, I wouldn't say anything. I'd eat it politely. You know, I just feel like she's rude, because when he was in Ukraine, 100%, he would have experienced something that he wouldn't have been used to. You know, different cuisines, and he politely ate it, most likely.
See, I'm actually guilty of the same thing. Just a little bit of a backstory really quick. Jason and I, my fiance, we moved to Thailand for, I think, 4 or 5 months. And when we got there, they celebrated, the person we were staying with, her and her family celebrated us by having this whole fish feast. And they put this massive fish on the table, and they like carved out the eye and said, you have to eat the eye as like this kind of delicacy thing. And Jason will eat anything. So he's like, and I come from the land of growing up with chicken strips and fish sticks and pizza. And I was just I was like, I can't eat that. I apologize. I can't try it. And they looked at me and they said, it's so rude if you don't. And I was like, I'm sorry.
Declined. That's not rude if you politely decline. I think it's the delivery. Personally, I would never eat a fish's eye, and I wouldn't really eat half the things that people eat.
Yeah.
It's all about how you deliver, you know, declining. How you politely decline.
And I did politely decline.
Well, there you go.
I was polite about it. Okay. All right.
For
All right,
sure.
Mimi. I'm going to drop you down and talk about Yara and Jovi really quick.
Sure.
All right. Hoof. Yeah, I swear it was polite when I declined too. There really wasn't much to talk about, guys, with Rebecca and Zied, only because, sure, he got approved for his visa. And yes, we saw him for the first time really on camera over in his country of Tunisia. Lost my throat for a second. In his country of Tunisia. But, his family's still a little bit skeptical about him coming over to the United States. His mom's worried about it, and Rebecca's excited. Really, nothing has changed at all. But one couple who was interesting, and guys, 140 in the room, go ahead, hit that like button, was Yara and Jovi. Yara has a way about her when she delivers her statements. She ends up letting Jovi know that he has an ugly ASS home, and she says it with a smile and a laugh. She's pretty much laughing at him. She's looking at the plates and looking at everything in the house and just talking about how ugly it is. And she wants to go furniture shopping. In doing so, she wants to find a mirror. She wants to find a rug. But a mirror and a rug turn into a couch, a mirror, a rug, this, that. It turns into like 50 things. And this is a furniture store. Furniture stores are not cheap. I personally will never walk into a furniture store unless it's for a bed or a couch, because otherwise I'm getting it on some sort of Facebook marketplace, thrifty thing. I mean, before coronavirus, but I won't pay full price for that kind of stuff. And her walking around and just picking out things simultaneously, like they have money coming out the wazoo like that, was just mind blowing to me. It's almost like she doesn't understand what things cost, and it just blew my mind. They're walking around, and one thing that blew my mind even more than that was the fact that the saleswoman helping them seemed to be enjoying getting involved in their conflict. She's pointing out things that she likes, and she's asking, Jovi, how do you say this? And he's like, rug, learn your English. And he's a little bit rude. He was rude, but the saleswoman was like, you can't talk to her like that, and you shouldn't say this. And in my head, I was like, you might want to be quiet and stay out of it so you can get your commission check. Seems like that wasn't her goal. Her goal was to be heard on TV, and she was really enjoying it in the moment. She kept telling him that he needs to chase after her, make things right, fix it, and go apologize. And he was just standing still in that moment and saying, I don't want a rug with sparkles in it in my house. Or my apartment. And that's what set her off. My apartment. She didn't necessarily agree with my apartment. And she was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm getting a car. The saleswoman was like, you need to go fix this. And he was just kind of like stressed out. But not to worry. They do end up making it back home. They do end up kind of resolving this issue. They didn't actually buy any of the furniture, but they came back together to kind of have some sort of resolve. I don't, again, get this couple. I don't think this couple, they're not meant for each other. They're very strange. I feel like Yara is very just, I'm going to bring up somebody else to say what they feel. Hi, Chicken Cakes.
Hey, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Did you watch the episode?
Oh, yeah, I totally did.
Okay.
This guy, Jovi, he really does talk to her pretty crappy. It doesn't seem like he's paying attention, and he's always giving her attitude.
You feel like he gives her more attitude than she gives him?
Yeah. Even
Wow.
my husband was like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, if it were him in a situation and somebody was moving from another country, I don't think that they would be, he looks miserable. He just doesn't even look happy with her. So something weird is going on there, because, not to be mean, but she's kind of out of his league.
Okay. And it seems like, I think from her standpoint, what she's trying to express is, I came all the way here from the Ukraine and I compromised. I moved my whole life, and you can't pretty much compromise on a rug. Like, she's taken aback by that. But for him, he feels like, I've put you in a nice apartment. I'm trying to support you, and all you do is complain. Who's right and who's wrong?
I mean, it is true on both sides. I do see her complaining, but I can understand why. But then I don't understand why he just, like, when she walked in, he was reading a book. Like, he's just got a crappy attitude towards her.
Okay. All right. And do you feel like this couple is gonna? I mean, I think someone said
No
that
way.
you don't think they're gonna last.
No way. They're just mismatched completely. Like, I don't even know why they're together at all. And I watch all 90 days, all seasons before, after, all that and the other. I just don't get these two. Something is weird.
All right. Well, if you think that this couple probably won't last, is there at least one couple on this season, since you are an avid 90-day watcher, that you
Hmm.
would think would work out?
It's always tough. Hmm. This is a weird group, especially we got a couple of new ones, so I can't really comment on them yet. But I don't know. There are not that many that seem to have some type of, like connection. However, I am kind of hopeful for Rebecca and Zied, I
Yeah,
think.
I agree with you. I think that that could be one of the couples that would potentially have the ability to make it through, as long as Ziad doesn't come. I think
Mhm.
Rebecca is willing to do anything for this man. I think as long as he doesn't come in and try to really be obnoxiously controlling, I think
Yeah,
that they could have a future.
absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see, but out of all of them that I can see so far, like definitely not Michael and what's her no, not Varia.
Natalie.
Natalie.
Yeah.
They definitely are not going to make it. I don't think. I'm not sure of anybody, but
And
best
Stephanie and
chance.
Ryan, I don't feel like that's
No
obviously not gonna last.
way. That's going to be a dumpster fire right there.
Okay, well, I am curious because we see, and I'm not the TLC guy. Usually, it's Max, the celeb talk guy. That's why I love having him join us sometimes. He
Mhm.
usually really knows a lot that goes on behind the scenes. But I'm curious because we see a preview for the upcoming season of Brandon and Julia is like, Brandon, what this means? 2 lines on the pregnancy test, and
Uh-oh.
I've never taken a pregnancy test, obviously, but that means you're pregnant, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if she is in fact pregnant and farm life is not for her, does she have the ability to take that baby out of America and just go back to Russia with her baby?
Mm, I don't know. Those two I kind of hope for too, but that mother is creepy as all, and the farm life is definitely not going to cut it for her. But she seems so young, and she is young and so full of life, and you know, dancing and all the stuff that she does. It's like I don't know if she could handle like all of those changes by herself.
Okay. And I kind of agree, and it seems like Brandon is in this rock and a hard place, in between a rock and a hard place when it comes to his mom and Julia, because he's trying to keep his parents happy because that's part of his life. That's, they're obviously
Right.
a close unit, but then this is a woman that he really feels like he loves, he's in love with, and he wants a future with, but she's not going to budge. I feel like eventually she's going to be so
No.
fed up with this pushy mom.
Yeah, I think if those two are to work, which I think they do, like they look like they have some like a connection, a real connection. I think the only way that's going to work is if Brandon cuts the umbilical and leaves with Julia.
I think, and I could be wrong, and somebody please correct me if I am wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they end up. She gives an ultimatum. Andrea said real quick. Sorry, I don't mean to get off topic. She can
No
leave if
problem.
the baby isn't born yet, but she can't once the baby is born because she needs the
Uh,
dad's approval. Ooh, I didn't know that. Um,
Me either.
but when it comes to the couple, I think we see in a preview for one of the upcoming episodes where the mom is actually telling Brandon he needs to choose between his farm life and having the future of the farm and all of that, or Julia, which is a tall order for somebody who is newly in love, who's never been in love before. He might just choose Julia and run off with her.
Yeah, I mean, I heard, I heard it as like basically you're gonna have to choose the family and the farm or her. So it's definitely going to come up to Brandon. That'll be the interesting thing to see there because he's definitely a mama's boy, but he's got a great girl. They seem to have a connection. So she's sweet and she's putting up with a lot. So I hope he cuts the. I hope they move.
Okay. And lastly, before I let you go, chicken cakes, and I love that. I love that username. Before I let you go, is there something that you're looking forward to most the rest of the season? Like one couple in particular, whether it's good or bad, that you just are so interested to see how their story plays out?
I think I've got one that I've got a negative. I want to see what happens, and then one with a positive.
Yeah.
I would
What's the
say,
negative?
you know, the negative is this Jovi thing. Like, I swear something is off with this whole thing. She's out of his league. I don't get it. He's a douche, if I could say that. And as far as like a happy ending, the only one that I could see being, you know, possible would be, you know, Rebecca and Zied.
Okay. Rebecca and Ziad. All right.
Yeah, I'm rooting for them. I think they have a good connection, but you know, time will tell.
Well, are you solely a TLC watcher? Or do you ever watch Bravo too?
Oh God, I watch it all.
Okay.
All the Housewives, all TLC.
Hey, well, I thoroughly enjoyed you calling in. So please, if you're around anytime this week, we cover all things Bravo and then a few things TLC. So give us a call back in. I loved having you call.
I will, absolutely. It was great talking to you.
It's great talking to you too. And if I don't get to talk to you before, have a happy new year.
You too. Be
All
safe.
right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And I do want to pull this up really quick. Robin Berry said crickets can jump 3 feet. Boom. I told you guys, there's no way that the crickets are staying in the trash can. It's not possible. It's not happening. There's crickets in that house. You heard it here from Robin, not from me. Just saying. And guys, I want to thank you to Andrea, Chicken Cakes, Mimi, everyone who called in. I really appreciate you guys. Shannon Van, who's in there modding. I appreciate you. Dana, I see you in the chat as well. I see, you know, I kind of try to look down and also pay attention to both. Sometimes it's a little bit of multitasking. But if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. As always, it's been a pleasure. If I don't get to talk to some of you before the New Year's, I hope you all have a beautiful New Year's. And please, let's just all pray that it is way better than 2020 because this has been one heck of a year. Yeah. Love you guys.